Congratulations. And I see Member Garcia with AJR 12.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair and members of the Labor Committee. It's well, let me begin by thanking the committee staff for bringing us to this point to present AJR 12. This resolution urges the United States Department of Labor and Congress of the United States to investigate alleged misuse of the H-1B visa program. It also seeks the immediate discontinuation or replacement of California employees with foreign workers through the improper use of the visa program. AJR 12, again, simply asks the United States Department of Labor to investigate the misuse of this program, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote. With me are two individuals who will speak in support of the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Harper.
Introduce yourself as well.
Mike Monaghan, on behalf of the Coalition of California Utility Employees, who are the sponsors of this resolution, as well as the California State Association of Electrical Workers, the California State Pipe Trades Council, the Western States Council of Sheet Metal Workers, the International Union of Elevator Constructors. I think we got them all. Anyway, Mr. Garcia summarized the resolution, I think, aptly. This committee has certainly dealt with this issue before with Mr. Hernandez, 853, probably a few weeks ago. The issue, in my view, is pretty simple, is that there's a number of companies, both here in California, but there's a lot of large companies throughout these United States that are, in my view, misusing this H-1B visa program at a horrible cost to American workers and their families. The numbers, we're not really sure what they are. I mean, certainly there's enough evidence from the utility here in California that was exposed, and there's a couple of other larger companies that were exposed. That's maybe not the right word. Their misuse of this H-1B program came to light, and many hundreds, for sure, have lost their jobs. The H-1B program was set up for temporary workers with specialized skills to come to the United States at a time when these companies could not, for some reason, find these workers that are specialized. It's been turned into a program, and maybe this is a copyright phrase, I don't know, but in my humble opinion, it's become the number one job killer, at least in California. So I would urge your support for this resolution. On my right, I'm very proud to introduce Mr. Johnny Simpson, who is the business manager for local IBEW in San Diego, with his comments and his views of this particular program.
Good afternoon. I'm Johnny Simpson. I'm business manager, financial secretary for International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I represent both San Diego and Imperial counties. I represent construction electricians. I have about between 3,000 and 3,100 members. And we have seen H-1Bs, even though they're not supposed to be in construction, these are supposed to be very specialized visas. They're supposed to be folks that maybe we don't have a particular skill or whatever in the engineering fields and those things. It's not true. We've caught them on construction sites. We've watched abuses continue, and we would like for that to stop. These need to be investigated. And when we start talking to the Fed and asking them to come out and investigate this stuff, you know, that's a little difficult. They've got a lot of things on their plate, and coming out to investigate a guy on the job site is not real high on their priority list. So with that in mind, we need to make sure that we protect our California workers. We need to make sure that we protect the workers in my jurisdiction and everywhere else. And we need to make sure that we go ahead and support this bill. All we're asking for is an investigation on some of these companies and try to make sure that we protect those California workers and my members and the members in your district. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Mitch Seaman with the California Labor Federation, also here in strong support. We think the evidence continues to mount that there are some real concerns with this program, and the resolution will do a lot to send a message that we need to take serious steps to protect the workers and learn more about what's really going on out there. And we urge an aye vote.
Are there any others wishing to add on? Seeing none, if there's any wishing to speak against, please come forward.
Nicole Rice, California Manufacturers and Technology Association, and unfortunately we're here in opposition to the resolution. We do understand and appreciate the concerns about the misuse associated with this program. As an industry, we too also use the H-1B visa program and have an interest in making sure that the integrity of the program is maintained. However, the way that it is being approached from the legislature by using the vehicle and indicating in the language of the vehicle undocumented and unfounded allegations towards one particular California company is what concerns us. We were hoping to be able to work with the author to get that language removed. We know that it has been scaled down significantly since it was first introduced, and we definitely appreciate that effort. However, we feel that the goal and objective that this resolution is attempting to achieve could be done so without an inference to the particular activities of one company, a company that has a history of 128 years here in California. So if we would ask the committee to remove that language from the bill, and as a result of that, we would be happy to remove our opposition because, again, if there are misuses that affect and impinge on the integrity of the H-1B visa program, we would definitely want actions to be taken to look into that to improve the program. However, with that language contained in the resolution, unfortunately, we have to be opposed to the resolution.
Thank you very much. Are there any others wishing to speak in opposition or add on in opposition? Seeing none, we'll go forward with the committee with comments, questions, or motions.
So moved. Any questions?
Okay, moved by McCarty and seconded by Thurman. And go ahead.
Sure. Certainly this was something we read about a few months ago. We know the company in question, and I don't see them listed here in opposition, and I see the bill in front of us, and as is amended, it took out reference to a specific entity and talked about more in broad terms. So I'm kind of confused when we didn't see them here in opposition. Maybe the author can enlighten us on what amendments you took and whether or not you think that's still an issue.
Mr. Vice Chair, if I may.
Yes.
The amendments that were made is exactly what's before you. There is no reference to any company in the resolution. In fact, in the weeks from introduction of this resolution to present, it was mentioned that there could be another company that was misusing the H-1B visa program, and quite frankly, I considered amending the resolution to reintroduce that company. For that fact, we had conversation with Rules, and Rules agreed to modify the resolution as presented, not making any reference to any company, and that's the resolution that's before us today.
Thank you very much, Member McCarty. And if I may note, there's always a particular issue when someone may be targeted or field targeted. It's very difficult to be able to speak out in that position because it can often be a position of duress. Member Patterson.
I want to express a concern about investigation and intimidation. I think that's two different things. And I think that this does cross the line to what amounts to an intimidation. Does the resolution presently state documented misuse of the H-1B visa program by one public utility? Is that language still here?
We've taken out any specific company or organization.
Do I have to read your own bill?
Please. We have made...
You want the section?
I'd be happy to, again, clarify that we have amended the resolution to take out a company that was the focal point of this resolution in the interests of elaborating beyond one company and shedding light to the fact that there may be several companies in California and throughout the country misusing the H-1B visa program. So we've made those changes, and that's the resolution that's before you today.
Matt, I'd like to quote. Some companies are misusing the federal H-1B visa program, including the documented misuse by one California public utility. That seems to me to be intimidation, not investigation. So, follow-up question. Precisely what is the documented, proven misuse or abuse? What other than, I guess, a newspaper story?
No. I will mention to you, and I'll start with saying that the Department of Labor for the United States now is looking at this matter seriously. And there were a significant amount of complaints that were submitted not only to our state, to various assembly district offices, where you had an impact of close to 400 jobs lost in a specific region of Southern California. To me, those are significant enough to bring this resolution forward. And the fact that the United States Department of Labor is now looking at this matter, I would hope that that would be of significance to you and the members of this committee. In my opinion, utilizing this program or misusing this program to outsource jobs that belong here in California, it should be inappropriate to you and to every member of this committee. I represent a district that has 21% unemployment. And I'll tell you that anytime a job that is in California, worked by a Californian, and is replaced by a foreign worker through a program that's being misused, I think that we should stand up as a governmental body and shed light on the problem. And again, I would respectfully ask that you and the members of this committee support that.
Is it then your representation that the abuses are beyond a particular utility?
In the last several weeks, there has been light shed on another company that will go unnamed in the interests of those companies, as what we've done here with this resolution. We've taken out the name of a specific company, and we're asking that the federal government look at all of these alleged.
Are the additional concerns about a company other than a utility?
That is correct.
Then why don't you simply remove the language about the utility and simply make this a request for an inquiry without the intimidation factor of specifying this particular utility?
Well, because that is what triggered the introduction of this resolution. And again, the Rules Committee and I made modifications to this resolution, and that's what's before you today.
Okay. One final point. To me, this does abuse the essential privilege of membership for AJRs, it seems to me. The facts, at least so far as we presented them, is that apparently there is some concern by the federal government, and you cited the Labor Department. Isn't that evidence that there is, in fact, a appropriate process, a fact that is at the attention of the federal government? Why are you not willing to let that process unfold? And if, in fact, the Department of Justice needs to be called in after facts are discovered and all of that, I'm concerned about what passes as investigation. Request for investigation is essentially intimidation. I think that's a line that's been crossed unnecessarily And I share your concerns about the abuse of H-1B, but it seems to me that is really a federal matter. It does seem to me that there is a process by which that is unfolding. And to interject a call for what appears to be a criminal investigation, if you're asking for the DOJ to be a part of this, why don't you let the process work itself?
Well, I appreciate the fact that we do have some common ground and that we both recognize that there is a problem with the visa program. I believe that as Californians, that we need to stand up as it relates to jobs being replaced, outsourcing jobs, right? And that's what triggered this resolution. It sounds like you disagree with also the position of the chairman of the Rules Committee, who's allowed this resolution to move forward with the modifications that are before you, and I can respect that. But I believe that we should, too, make our voice be heard. And I would imagine that if 400 jobs in your district or any member's district here were outsourced to a foreign company, that we probably would be collectively agreeing to introduce a resolution of this source and making sure that the company or companies spearheading those efforts would be called upon on the matter.
I appreciate the point I'm raising is that I'm trying to get to a place where we can support it,
Sure.
where I can support it. And I think that if it wasn't so intimidating and it actually was a call for investigation, and I would argue not so much of the use of H-1Bs, but an inquiry about the value of them and about the question of how they're being used, and whether or not they should be sustained or they should be tightened down or modified in some way. I would be encouraging my own member of Congress to focus in on that. But it seems to me this is punitive to a particular utility, and it just has crossed a line for me. And I'm trying to ask if there's a way that you could bring the language back in a certain direction that could get to a line where I could support it.
Yeah. Well, I think we've made the necessary modifications to the resolution to bring it before this committee today. And I certainly respect your position. We can agree to disagree. We would certainly love for you and the other members of this committee to join us in this effort, collectively asking the federal government to take a look at the program and how it's being utilized by companies in California to outsource Californian jobs. As I mentioned, I represent an area with 21% unemployment. When this issue is raised, it is important to me, irrespective of those 400 jobs not coming from my district or not. Appreciate it.
Any further comments, questions? If I may note, I see the very troubling targeting, if you will, when I read the same language that, is very specific. It says, including the documented misuse by one California public utility. That's like going back to the 1980s and talking about one specific pizza delivery company that delivers in 30 minutes or less. You know exactly who is being targeted and who's being talked about. The plain reading is just obvious to anyone with a common sense.
I don't know that they go with that anymore, though. I don't think that...
No, there was...
Yeah, I thought it was 45 minutes. I want a refund.
And that's why I specified during the 80s, which is when I was there, which was my first job. But additionally, there's the other part of me that... is generally not into resolutions calling on Congress or the federal government, etc. We already have a very broad scope of issues to be able to deal with and to spend our time with here in the state legislature. In my feelings that generally, while there may be some exceptions, if we wanted to vote so much on federal issues, might want to run for Congress instead of state assembly. But the other issue that's of concern with me is my understanding is that this is an issue that is dealing with people they're coming this country to work who have skilled labor under the visa program, right? Mm-hmm. And so as I learn about this body and learn about the culture, that we have here, one of my concerns is, and you can comment on this or not, is are we placing a broader priority or a broader inclusiveness on unskilled, undocumented immigrants rather than skilled, documented immigrants? And that could be a broader point, which may be reserved for significant conversation, whether it's here or at some other body. But that really is a big question: is are we putting a priority? I mean, if the argument here is, are these California jobs for Californians? Is that only because it's for people that were born here? Because I know a lot of conversations that we have where we're a lot more inclusive than that in terms of thinking of who's a Californian, whether they chose to immigrate here more recently, whether they chose to immigrate here for a job or for work, or et cetera. So maybe worth a further point. And it looks like someone might be willing to engage on that. Member Thurman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. You're psychic. I wasn't going to say anything on this bill, but I'm happy to engage because what I love about this body is that we can agree to disagree on many things. We have different beliefs and we have different philosophies, and that's what makes this state very strong, and that's what makes this body very strong. But I want to be on record in making an observation and making a clarification. One, I think it's a point was very well made by the representative from the manufacturers group, as well as some of the members of this committee, that they felt that a particular entity was being singled out. I think that was fairly well established. But as I read the bill itself, it seems to me that the names were stricken, and that the gentleman who has brought us this bill has been very clear. He's not singling anybody out, but he believes that it is important to state the origin that led to the birth of the bill in the first place. And so to me, in my humble observation, that's a place where we have to respectfully disagree. People made good points that they felt targeting was taking place. The author of the bill made his point that he believes he's not targeting, but he needs to give an account of the genesis of the bill, even though the bill itself strikes out the name of apparently the group that allegedly is involved. The second thing I will engage on is my observation is that the author and no one else has made any statement about placing a higher value on any worker or immigrant worker, and simply is saying if there's any misuse of this important resource, that it be investigated. We can agree to disagree. Let's get on with the voting.
Member Patterson?
And again, the agree, disagree. I think what is significant for me is that it has been demonstrated with testimony that the complaining entities are more than just one utility. Given the fact that there are potentially multiple examples, would it not be more appropriate to narrow this, as I have suggested earlier, and as CMTA and others have suggested? It accomplishes the very same thing without crossing a line that I think becomes intimidation. That's the difference.
Through the chair?
Go ahead.
I think you asked a reasonable question in the one that you just did. I think the author gave you a reasonable response, and I think he's addressed it. And I think, again, it represents a place where we have to agree to disagree.
Well, I think you've heard quite a few points and questions, et cetera. Assemblyman Garcia, would you like to close?
Just respectfully ask for your aye vote. I think we've had a very good conversation. I think all of us put a priority on making sure that we continue to grow our economy and improve the unemployment rates here in our state. That is one of our essential priorities as legislators. Here's an issue that I bring forward to you all that says we lost 400 jobs, and we lost them via a program that perhaps may be misused. And I'm asking that you support this effort for the federal government to take a look at it. That's all. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much. And with that, we have a motion and a second, and so a vote is in order.
Motion is B, adopted to the floor. Hernandez? Harper?
No.
Harper, no. Chu? Chu, aye. Lowe? McCarty?
Aye.
McCarty, aye. Patterson? No. Patterson, no. Thurman? Aye. Thurman, aye. It's on call.
Okay, Bill's on call. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. That brings us to one final presenter with two bills. Senator Mendoza, please come forward. And you may present in the order which you prefer.
Great. Thank you so much, members. I know it's been a long day. I appreciate your indulgence. We'll go ahead and begin with the SB 432. Sorry about that. Shade. SB 432 seeks to improve outdated statute by deleting from the Labor Code the offensive and derogatory term alien as a definition for an immigrant individual. This bill also deletes an outdated requirement in law that prescribes an order for issuance of employment under certain works contracts, first to citizens of the United States, second to citizens of the United States, of other states, and the third to aliens. In 1937, the legislature enacted various provisions regarding employment of aliens, defined as any person who is not born or fully naturalized citizen of the United States. The legislature repealed most of these laws in 1970. Unfortunately, the definition for alien and this order for offering employment in public works projects were not repealed and are still found in the Labor Code. This bill has received unanimous support and has no opposition. I would respectfully ask for your support on this bill.
So moved.
Thank you. It's been moved by Patterson. Second, I heard, I think, McCarty, or I think it was McCarty. Go ahead. We have speakers in support.
Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the committee, Lee Sandahl on behalf of the Northern California District Council of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, and we are in strong support of this legislation.
Thank you very much. Others wishing to speak in support?
My name is Raji Prasad from the National Association of Social Workers California, and we're also in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further folks wishing to add on? Seeing none, are there any speakers in opposition? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed with comments and questions by members of the committee. There's already been a motion and a second. Seeing none, would you like to close?
Mr. Chair, respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and proceed with the vote.
Motion is due pass to the floor. Hernandez? Harper?
No.
Harper, no. Chu?
Aye.
Chu, aye. Low? McCarty?
Aye.
McCarty, aye. Patterson? Aye. Patterson, aye. Thurman? Aye. Thurman, aye. That bill is out.
Thank you very much. We'll see if this works out as well. Go ahead and proceed with your second bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, SB 599 is a straightforward bill that will support the state's continued economic recovery. SB 599 extends an already existing 10% bid preference to the state of California for public transit contracts. This bid preference rewards contractors who bid to take over a state public transit service contract if they voluntarily retain the employees of the prior contractor. This prevents employees from losing their jobs and benefits during high rates of turnover while providing the bidding contract with a competitive advantage. This bid preference has been in effect since 2003. However, currently, the law only applies to local government. SB 599 aims to remedy this oversight by extending the transit employee retention bid preference to contracts entered into by the state. A recent incident at Hearst Castle where long-term drivers lost their jobs due to a contract turnover illustrates the need to extend the protection for state public transit contracts. SB 599 will not only protect employee jobs, it will also protect good contractors from those that seek to bid based on cross-cutting measures. And with that, this bill has no opposition, and we respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Move the bill.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Those that wishing to speak in favor of as well, go ahead and proceed.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Shane Gussman on behalf of the Teamsters in strong support of the bill. We were the original sponsors to the bill that was enacted 12 years ago to provide the preference at the local level. This is a really small extension of that preference because the vast majority of these transit contracts are issued by local government. In fact, the state was left out inadvertently back in 2003 when we sponsored this bill because we were unaware of any contracts that were issued by the state. As the senator pointed out, there was an unfortunate incident at Hearst Castle. We've also become aware there are also some other transit contracts issued both for regular road transportation service and ferry service, and we just think that those employees deserve the same protections. Would point out that this doesn't guarantee wages for folks that are hired, and secondly, the employees have to be qualified. The employer has access, the new employer has access to all the employment information, and if there is somebody that that employer doesn't want to hire for good cause, they are free to do so and wouldn't be violating this provision of law. So with that, I ask for your vote.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the committee, Lee Sandall, on behalf of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, and the union feels it's time for transit workers under state contracts to be eligible for the same worker retention benefits that are now afforded to those transit workers under local government contracts. And we would ask for your aye vote, please.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Mitch Seaman with the California Labor Federation. For the reasons previously stated, we're also in support.
Thank you. Are there any others wishing to add on in support? Seeing none, are there any speakers in opposition? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed. There was a motion and a second. Further comments or questions by members of the committee? Well, I certainly have some concerns of my own. Namely, issues in terms of retention. Of course, the ultimate way, I guess, to have full retention is to not have any contracts. It starts to kind of just beg the point on, why do we do contracts in terms of transit for the state of California? Is that of a concern? Because that would be the ultimate way to keep retention.
No, I think having contracts is very important on several levels. I mean, you're talking about providing employees with certain protections and certain quality of life when it comes to, the inherent reason they're applying for these jobs. But if you don't have any contract, then what would you? It would be I think it would be a tremendous disadvantage to our workers. But again, these public transit, these transportation contracts, providing this bid preference would allow the people that are working currently in those jobs will stay employed, and those are individuals who already know the job, that are getting paid whatever amount it is when the new company comes in. They could still keep the same employees and avoid any disruption not only to the employees but also to the consumers that are affected by this change.
Well, in terms of my comments, of course, people who I think would love this bill the most are the people who currently work for a company that has a contract, and those are the folks who would indeed benefit. My concerns are about anti-competitiveness, and of course there's always the issue of sometimes the impetus or the need or the generation for wanting to bid out a contract, maybe because the current employees aren't up to the expectations of the state or to the management of the current operation. Very often being able to have a fresh start is a good reason to indeed have a contract. I know that happens a lot on the private level, while some people may be concerned about that, but that is also a concern at the public level as well. Are there any further comments? Seeing none, go ahead and close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the comments, and again, just a respect for that, for your aye vote. I think it's a very necessary bill, and would urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, the vote is in order.
Motion is due pass to appropriations. Hernandez. Harper.
No.
Harper, no. Chu.
Aye.
Chu, aye. Lowe. McCarty.
Aye.
McCarty, aye. Patterson. No. Patterson, no. Thurman.
Aye.
Thurman, aye. It's on call.
Thank you very much. And does that get it out?
Call.
On call. So
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so what we'll do is we will allow for votes to be able to add on, as we have our chair, who will make it back, I'm sure, after presentation.
How are you? That's right.
And Lowe as well.
That was the first I'm ready for some.
No.